we'll be utilizing throughout. No. Okay, so Cleric is on the White Mage route. One of the key distinct differences you'll see straight away is Sawneyrath. So they'll buy the hammer and they'll use that to do this equipment glitch. Basically, this is really awkward to explain, but the game will read a weapon or an armor value, and they're both in separate databases. All of the armors are in one, all the weapons in another. If you set the cursor to memory and go from one character's weapon to the next character's armor at the same time you confirm into the menu, or vice versa, one character's armor into another's weapon, it loads the values from the first one, the slot that you start on, but it loads them into the second one. So there we buy a hammer, just a basic normal hammer, which has an ID of 1. And the ID of 1 in the armors is the knight's armor. And so when you use the shoulder buttons to switch character, you can equip a knight's armor into the armor slots. Knight's armors slow you down. They are not actually great for very long, but just a decent chunk of durability and nice bit of survival. And they also sell for a lot, and that's going to be really, really important. And they will have generated an extra knight's armor just to sell early on for some menuing. I mentioned one of the key differences. You can see there's shops they go to early. I mentioned GreenCleric must be on the White Mage route almost instantly. Whether or not you do the shopping in Cornelia or Provoker depends on the route you take. So Cleric picks up a bunch of potions and Phoenix Downs and antidotes, and then later on both of them will pick up gold needles in Elfheim. But Sawneyrath needs one extra item a little bit earlier than Cleric does, which is Ethers. So you can get Ethers in Provoker, or you can pick them up in Crescent Lake. GreenCleric will get them in Crescent Lake because that's perfectly en route. There's not much of a detour for it. That is a fast Garland. Wow, Sawneyrath off to a blistering start here. That's really good. Yeah, Sawneyrath wants that MP a little bit earlier, so we'll just grab the Ethers from Provoker instead of Crescent Lake. So it is worth noting, Sawneyrath should have a slight lead at this point. I think he's also got the edge in terms of, the encounters and everything at the moment. I say should have a slight lead because of, like I said, that shop menu earlier. GreenCleric's been shopping, Sony hasn't yet. So that time is still kind of there to make up on Cleric's side. For anyone who doesn't know the story of FF1, don't worry, neither do I. There isn't much of a story in FF1, honestly. You've got basically two parts to it. One is massive fetch quest, and the other one is defeat 4 fiends, save the world. Cleric trying to run out without taking that loot. If you do that in the NES version, you can softlock. If you get to the end of the game without having picked up the loot, that's it. You just lose. That you can't get back. Yeah, so we've done part 1 of the fetch quest. We've gone to save the princess, and she's given us a loot, and they've repaired a bridge. They're going to travel over that bridge to get a boat, and then they're going to take that boat to get a crown, and then they're going to take the crown to get a crystal eye, and then they're going to take the eye to get a jolt tonic, the tonic to get a key, the key to get nitro powder, the nitro powder to blow up part of a mountain so that they can get to the next area, at which point they'll get a ruby so that they can get an earth rod so that they can get to the first of the 4 fiends. After that, the fetch quest kind of ends. At least the start of it is a little bit, go here, do this, take it here, do this. Wow, Sony has the entire run to Provoker ahead at this point. That is more than enough time to go shopping. Yep, so only dipping into the shop here. You won't see this on Green Clerics. They already did most of the shopping earlier. Like I say, you will see an extra small shop in Crescent Lake, but that's not for a while. And they'll both also dip into Elfheim for some needles. So I should mention the movement. I should mention threat levels. So this game works on a threat level system where every tile you step on increases an internal counter by a certain amount, and different tiles increase it by different amounts. And then once it will roll a random number, compare your threat level to the random number, and if your threat level is higher, you'll get a fight. Forests are worse than plains, which are worse than marshes. Rivers are also quite good, and there are a few dungeons that are really, really good for threat levels. But it's actually interesting to note, Cleric took a slightly roundabout route getting to Provoker there, mostly because of those threat levels. Avoided a lot of the forests, but walked through more tiles to get there. I don't know the specific numbers, so I'm not sure which is better. I assume going through the forest is, but I'm not 100% confident on that, and honestly, I imagine there's not that much of a difference between the two. Cleric getting held up by NPCs, the more you see of FF1, the more you come to learn that NPCs are the hardest enemy in this game. Bats, brooms, Lefenians in particular are really obnoxious. Sea encounters have a really low threat level as well, by the way. They're really low on encounters generally, but the encounters you get there are almost all terrible. They're just really difficult to escape from because the enemies are fast. Thankfully, Cleric got one of the better ones, and it was the only one there. So Cleric dips into Elfheim to do the shopping here. This makes sense. On Sawney's side, he would have dipped into Castle. And that is to reset that threat level and to just get a couple of spaces closer. You enter the castle from the right and leave from the south, so you just get those kind of 2-3 spaces closer to where you want to be. So Marsh Cave's encounter rate is ridiculously low. It is not unreasonable to get through the entirety of Marsh Cave without a fight. As I say, that Sawney gets a fight. Commentator's Curse, doing it perfectly. There's a few enemies to worry about here. They're less kind of fatal and more just kind of... They can really slow you down a lot. Lots of undead, lots of paralysis to kind of knock you back a bit. And we come to the first boss, mini-boss. I always want to say mini-boss for the spike tiles, as they're known. Which really bothers me, because there are actual spike tiles, but spike tiles, as they're known. If you step on a spike tile, you get a forced encounter. Usually against like a specific enemy or a specific kind of subset of enemies. In this case, it's the Pisca Demons, and you'll get, I think, between 2 and 4. I might be wrong on that one, but... For the Black Mage route, 2 is really bad, because you actually need the experience. But Sawney have no trouble with 4. And it's the same amount of time to kill them. We use the Judgment Staff. I didn't even note the Judgment Staff that was picked up in Chaos Shrine, but there was a Judgment Staff picked up in Chaos Shrine. It's a late-game weapon that... It's a staff, so it's not physically powerful, but if you use it from the item menu, it casts Flare. And that's why the Pirates fell really quickly. That's why the Pisca Demons fell really quickly. And that will be useful for almost the entire run. The issue with Flare is it's an 8-second animation. And so the original route, the Barbarian Sword route for this game, I say original route, the one that was kind of first brought about with the equipment glitch, utilized the Judgment Staff for every single encounter you couldn't run from. And then as it developed, it became a White Mage route that picks up other pieces of equipment that you can also use from the menu for various different spells, which is what Green Cleric is doing. And kind of the most recent incarnation of this is the Black Mage route, where the levels are a little bit more optimized and the equipment's a little bit tweaked so that you just buy the spells instead and actually use them from your magic menu with Black Mage. And it's kind of interesting that they're all named after what the most useful thing in that route. The Black Mage route obviously really cares about the Black Mage experience, and they're the one doing everything. The White Mage route gives the White Mage the most intelligence and really focuses on the White Mage's stats and level. And the Barbarian Sword route doesn't care about anyone, they're all just holding really big swords. So Sawneyrath getting to Astos first. You can just hit Astos a couple of times. If you're lucky, you can get away with a high roll on one of the staff uses, but... Oh, it's on the warrior. That's actually fantastic. So that is really good luck for Sawneyrath there. If it hits... So Astos has instant death, which sounds a lot more terrifying than it is, but here I am saying that that's a good thing, so, I mean, clearly it's not that bad. I mentioned earlier the leveling being a massive factor in this run, and Astos gives a lot of experience. Like, Astos is a huge source of early game experience, and the warrior is by far the most expendable character in this run. Ooh, GreenCleric getting the death miss, at least. I was a little worried for a second there, seeing that White Mage getting targeted. In fact, what I will do is hop us over to the other audio, given that Sawney's that little bit ahead at the moment. But yeah, so the warrior is the most expendable character. They pretty much exist in the party because they can hold lots of things. Right? At one point in the Black Mage route, you pick up an axe. Well, only the warrior can have axes. And you pick up like a pair of gloves. Well, only the warrior can wear like metal gauntlets, so gotta have a warrior. Also, yeah, Cleric stopped in here to buy gold needles earlier. Very much kind of like a race, marathon, etc. safety net. If you're doing a speedrun attempt, you tend to not pick up the gold needles. They don't do that much. They cure petrification if you get hit by it, and if you're doing a PB attempt, you just hope to not get hit by it. But in a race, that's not really an option. Like, just kind of hoping for the best isn't particularly safe. So, grab a couple of gold needles and just make sure that Earth Cave and Ice Cave, probably the two toughest dungeons until the last one, don't jeopardize your run. I was about to say Sawney with a notable lead here and then got a C encounter, and I held my thought for just that second longer. Preemptive, so it was fine. No, that one isn't. Oh geez, tough encounters on both sides. Cleric's going to try and run from these, so Sahagin are really fast. Like, really, really fast. And this is one of the strengths of the Black Mage route, is being able to Thundara away these encounters that sometimes you might struggle to run from. What that has done is push Cleric very slightly ahead here, though. Another encounter... 3 C encounters for Sawney is... Yikes. That's, pretty bad on the RNG side of things. Oh, dock tiles, by the way, you'll notice Sawney there landed at the dock that little bit earlier. And dock tiles give you 0 encounters. Like, there's no threat level to them. So they don't ever give you an encounter. So you'll notice... I haven't noticed Cleric doing it as much, but I have noticed Sawney doing it. You notice some runners will dock a little bit earlier. The steps are slower. But it means that you're hopefully going to get fewer fights as you go. Oh, jeez, wolf ambush as well. So, Cleric didn't get broomed as far as I saw. Brooms, I mentioned this earlier, NPCs are the worst in this game. The brooms generally tend not to be so bad. So basically the NPC movement in this game is just, at certain intervals, they will move 1 square in any direction. And that can cause some major problems. Sometimes they will just block your path. Yeah, Sonny got through without a problem there. The brooms can walk into that doorway, and so basically there's a tile between the door and the main room. And that tile is where the wall is, basically. And if a broom moves into that gap, you can't leave. And the best way to get an NPC to move, it turns out, is to run into them repeatedly. And that doesn't work if they're in the last slot in the room, so you just kind of have to wait for it to move out the way. NPC problems will be coming up again soon with Earth Cave, because, like, there are bats everywhere. Just... Bats are, I'm convinced, the worst enemy in the game. They appear in Garland's castle for a reason. They are hired by Garland to just jeopardize everything. Not by making, not by killing your party, just by slowing them down long enough that Garland can, like, execute all of his plans. So Cleric, I think, is going to pick up slightly different equipment here to Sawneyrath. You'll see Sony pick up the right chest as well. But Thieves' Armlets are an equipment that give +5 agility, and your speed is the determining factor for whether you can run away from fights. So giving everyone +15 seems good. Sawneyrath will actually pick up Sage's staves. I need to remember that. I always instinctively want to say Sage's staffs, and that's wrong. Sonny will pick up the bronze gloves. Okay, I can't remember what the base item is because you never actually use it. It's just a Sage's staff. Technically 2 Sage's staves. But Sage's staff is just an intelligence boost. It's just a lot of intelligence. Also, this menu is really fun for me. I don't know why, I just find it really elegant. You equip the Sage's staves to the Thief and the White Mage, because they're the ones adjacent to the Warrior. And you want 2 of them, 1 for each of your mages. And you just leave it sat on the Thief for now, because it doesn't matter too much at this point. Right, Cleric picks up a Mithril Knife here. That's, So yes, again, Sony docked early at the Cornelia docks. Cleric just rode straight into the end of them. Yeah, so the Mithril Knife, I'm not 100% on that. I think... I will admit, I don't know the White Mage route anywhere near as well. This is my scouting mission, clearly. If I come up against Cleric in the finals, I need to know where I can gain and lose time. That's clearly the real objective here. But no. I just wanted to watch a really fun match. Both of these are great runners. I think it becomes Gauntlets, which when used cast Thundara, but I might be wrong on that one. But yeah, the next menu will come up in the next town, and that's where the Thief holding the Sage's staff becomes obvious, because you glitch an item onto the Thief. You then immediately remove it, because it's a sword, so the Warrior can hold it normally just by pressing equip. And then you equip the Sage's staff that you've just removed from the Thief to the Black Mage. Then you equip the sword that you just created to the Warrior, and then you glitch a new sword onto the Thief again. Poison, is it really? I was going to say, it's interesting here that Sony isn't curing this poison, but then, yeah, actually decided to. So Nerek is a small terrorist, I'm pretty sure. Like, he's terrible. You hand him some nitro, and he just blows up a canal. He just takes out an entire section of the terrain here. We're just going to drive our boat through. Apparently, the Warriors of Light have no regard for anything that's happening. Just, like, you leave destruction behind you in your quest to defeat Garland and don't care one bit. But that's fine, because we can now ride our boat through this canal. I'm pretty sure they call it a canal at some point in the game. Like, that's not a canal. This is not how you create canals. So Cleric has like a slight edge at the moment. Earth Cave is going to change that, so I'll keep the music as it is for now, but I might switch the audio after Earth Cave depending on if that lead shifts or more accurately, if it doesn't shift from here. The reason Earth Cave makes a difference, there are unrunnable encounters. Those pesky Pisca demons. Pesky demons? Those pesky demons from earlier. We'll fight them again, and because they were a boss fight before, they're a boss fight again. That's how the game codes it. You can't run from them. They were a boss fight. Hard required. So anytime you encounter Pisca demons in any dungeon, and they appear in a lot of dungeons for some reason, those demons will be unrunnable. You will not be able to get away from them. The difference being that Cleric... paralysis is paralysis, really. Oh no. Sawney getting the stun lock. Not too bad. Big Eyes are fairly weak. I'll fall pretty quickly. Does give Cleric a notable lead into Cavern of Earth. So Cavern of Earth, firstly, I mentioned bats. Secondly, I mentioned unrunnable encounters, and thirdly, I mentioned the gold needles earlier. So 3 problems of kind of varying degrees here. The bats are a nuisance. They're never going to end a run, but they will be really annoying and cost you that bit. Sawney, oh wow. So Sawney feels behind enough to do puzzle. I shouldn't... I'm a little sad that I have to explain the puzzle now. There are some people who swear by this, there are other people who hate it. I am very much one of the people who hates it. So firstly, you want to win between 30 and 60 seconds. You want to come in second place on the leaderboard that it has, and the leaderboard goes 30, 60, 130. Emergency! Got it! He actually got it! Okay, that is a 1 in 6. So when you do the puzzle and you come in second, there are 2 items you'll get. The first slot, so just the first item, has a 1 in 6 chance of being an emergency exit, which, for those that don't know, is basically the escape ropes from Pokemon. You can just leave a dungeon. So where Cleric is now at the end of Earth Cavern, you have to fight Vampire. A very creatively named boss. It is a vampire called Vampire, and it's beautiful. We later have a Lich called Lich. So after that, you get told to go on a little bit more of a fetch quest. If you go to the back of the cave, you'll find a stone slab that you can't move, and it's locked. But when you beat the vampire, you can get a treasure chest with a star ruby in it, and you have to take that star ruby to a golem. And then the golem eats the ruby and moves out the way, and then you can go to the old sage Sada and get the earth rod so that you can come back to all the way through Earth Cave to get back to the lower floors that are currently locked by that stone tablet. So that is the second Pisca Demon fight for Cleric there. That is rough. Like I say, that is a very rare fight. Or more accurately, it's an unrunnable fight, which you kind of just don't expect to see. Oh, and there's one for Sawney to start off. One thing I haven't touched on, by the way, just a minor thing before I go back to the emergency exit. Preemptives and ambushes. Ambushes, all the enemies get to act first. Preemptives, you get to act first. But with a preemptive, you can also run away. No matter what the fight is, doesn't matter if it's technically an unrunnable encounter, if you get a preemptive, you can run away on the first turn, and your first run will always be successful. Yeah, Sawney is about to make up an absolute ton of time. You'll notice Cleric hasn't even managed to escape from Cavern of Earth yet. The puzzle is basically 30 to 40 seconds, because it takes you a while to get into it. It's like a 40-second time loss to get a 1 in 6 chance of gaining back 1.5 to 2 minutes. And yeah, the fact that Sawneyrath got it here is get clear lead straight away. Just boosted himself straight into the lead here. Unbelievable. Jeez, they are both getting pretty unlucky with these encounters as well. The encounters in this game, NES version, you can kind of manipulate your RNG a bit. No such thing in the PSP one. You have no control over the encounters you get, the ambushes you get. It's always fun trying to make a phrase with your party members, except the issue with it is that partway through the run, you have to swap the third and the fourth. So you have to have something that makes sense either way. Also, can I just point out this golem is thick with several Cs. Like, what in the hell? I don't know what happened when they were making this sprite, but when he turns around, like, swear to God. Almost Slept Through Race was one of mine. I woke up 40 minutes before the race started. I thought it was an hour later than it was. Alright, so we get the Earth Rod from Sada, who is absolutely that golem in disguise. I'm pretty sure that was decided in one of the races I was in. So now that golem, yeah, he leaves a cave and then just disguises himself as an old man in the back of a cave to give you the Earth Rod. It's absolutely 100% factual lore for FF1. Ton of encounters here. To be honest, I'm still getting over the fact that Sawney did the puzzle and got it. Got the emergency exit. It's a bold play that paid off spectacularly. So yeah, with the Earth Rod in tow, we'll go back to where the vampire was fought. Just like, go round to the back. Just use an Earth Rod on, like, there's a stone tablet in the room behind Vampire, and you just kind of hold an Earth Rod on it, and it moves out the way. The actual story of the game is that there's a curse on the nearby town, and they're like, oh, there's an evil vampire in the cave nearby who's cursed us. You need to go and, like, help defeat it. And then you go there and you defeat the vampire, but then the stone tablet at the back is like, you need the power of the Earth Rod. So you take the Star Ruby and you go and find the golem so that you can get past. You go to the sage and he's like, no. The vampire wasn't the one causing the curse. There's a lich at the back of the cavern. Take this Earth Rod and you can get to the lich. Yeah, so the Chaos Sprites are going to be for the best of 5. So these two runners will be racing at, I think, the same time tomorrow. Definitely tomorrow. I'll double check the time. But this is their first of 5. So we'll see. Yeah, same time tomorrow. So yeah, this is the first of those 5. And then those symbols will light up yellow as they pick up the wins. This is paralysis, really. I'm gonna be laughing at like every status effect for this entire run, by the way. I mentioned Earth Cavern's 3rd floor. Paralysis is paralysis. Cool, good, great. Earth Cave's 3rd floor onwards have some terrifying encounters. Maximum paralysis undead encounter is absolutely one of them. And it's one that, in Sawney's case there, just use your judgment staff. If you get down to 1 character, it won't, like, it's very rare that those fights will kill you, but it's very common that they will cost you 2 to 3 minutes easily. So if you get to the point where you're, you know, sat with 3 characters paralyzed, you're holding those judgment staffs, use them. Like, just throw Flare out. It's worth the 8 seconds to not have the entire party stun locked. Or if it's the Black Mage, then you can fire them, and the undead are weak to fire, so that's fine. So the 4th floor has all the same awful encounters as the 3rd. I'm pretty sure you can still get Cockatrice that will petrify your party. You can still get all the undead that will paralyze it. You'll still get the Pisca demons that are unrunnable. And Sony, meanwhile, are just blitzing through that 5th floor. No fights. So, for the record, I've started keeping track of a bunch of stats for races for this tournament. I'm kind of going back through all the old races to log a whole bunch of details. And right now, I'm like, while I'm doing this, I'm keeping track of how many unrunnable encounters each player gets, and how many 1 in 64 encounters they get. And Sawneyrath did get the emergency exit from the puzzle, so the numbers are a little bit skewed. But Sawneyrath got 2 Pisca Demon fights in Earth Cave. GreenCleric is currently sat at 5. Yeah, Sawney not having much need to show off Thundara or Fire here. Got a really clean Earth Cave, to be honest. The puzzle is probably what's made the difference here, though. Cleric was about a floor ahead at the point where Sawney decided to do the puzzle. So it's probably about probably about a minute behind on Sawney's part, I'd say. But that 40-second time loss for a 2.5 minute gain with the Earth Cave that Cleric's had. Also, I didn't touch on it, and Sawney just smashed through it with no problems whatsoever. But safety save for Lich. This is without a doubt one of the most troublesome bosses. Got away with it on Cleric's side, it looks like, as well. Well, those were low damage rolls, actually, so maybe I've spoken too soon. Nope, we're good. There goes Lich. Lich can just open up the fight, Blizzara you, and it does about 150 to 200 to your entire party. Which, if you're looking at that now, you see that the warrior is the only one who might even survive that and wouldn't have on Sawney's side. Cleric's HP totals are crazy compared to Sawneyrath's. Those are really good HP totals. And yeah, like, Blizzara will just kill you. And also, you want your warrior dead coming up, so you don't even want to heal the warrior to full, just on the off chance you survive a Blizzara. I know there's been discussion of the all bosses route again recently, actually, because Sawneyrath was talking about picking it up and was asking if there were kind of notes or a guide, and apparently it's a little bit outdated, so we might see that total come down a bit. Hopefully, I'd be interested in picking that up as well, actually. I also want to get weeklies going. So, you know, if anyone's listening to this and wants to, maybe not weeklies, maybe like fortnightly, but like a regular FF1 race within the community. So, you know, if anyone else is interested in making that happen, let me know. So, so this is where we swap the characters around. You need to move Lust Daggers onto your mages. They give you plus 10 agility, I want to say, as well as a decent physical attack, which is really, really important for the upcoming dungeon where everyone is going to be hideously underleveled. No, not that fortnight. Yes, fortnight is every 2 weeks. So also, I briefly touched on it earlier about wanting the warrior to die here. You also want the thief to die. Warrior and the thief need to go down at some point between here and the short but necessary level grind that is coming up. This next dungeon, like I mentioned, you are technically really underleveled for this dungeon going into Ice Cavern. And that makes the mini-boss that you fight here really, really good for experience. And your experience is divided between your party members, so by killing off the warrior and the thief, you get twice as much experience on the two mages. It's only split 2 ways instead of 4. Perfect. So, killing off the warrior and the thief, there are ways to kind of set it up. It's not the worst thing if you go in with them at like a reasonable amount of HP. But the lower you can get them, the better. And Sawney actually has done a really good job of keeping the health totals low enough that Thundara will do the job, but not low enough that they're likely to die to random encounters on the way through. It always confuses me that that tile is... Wait, Sawney, what? Did Sawney save? There, okay. I was about to say, that was... Ice Cavern is a terrifying dungeon. If anyone was watching the race yesterday between myself and Cruel, there was maybe a minute, half a minute to a minute lead. And Cruel was like, well, I know how I can make back some time. I won't save in Ice Cavern. First encounter. White dragons, outsped the party, ice stormed, game over. So... Ice Cavern definitely has some dangerous encounters. Also, yeah, what you'll see with a lot of people is that they'll not worry too much about healing up the party through Ice Cavern. But then if the warrior or thief dies, you then keep the mages at a high enough total because you're relying on them to then get away from all of the fights on the way to the level grind. Yeah, the other enemies, so Dark Wizards will ambush you with Faraga, and that's fatal. There's a ton of undead enemies, like this one, that's a spike tile for Sawneyrath. So you will 100% always get a fight on that square against undead. And again, they can stun lock you. Cockatrice are terrible. Piscademons aren't so bad in terms of an encounter for, like, killing the party. But they're obviously just really slow. And yeah, we mentioned the white dragons and how terrifying they are. Alright, so heal up the mages. And then just defend for a couple of turns. And this is just... There we go. Perfect for Sawneyrath there. Quick Thundara kills off the 2 melee characters. And then you just stab the evil eye with a Lust Dagger. And you'll see Sawney picking up this fight a handful of times. It fluctuates a bit based on the previous fights you've had. Sawney obviously got the puzzle, so didn't get many of the unrunnable encounters in Earth Cave, so might have to do this an extra 1 or 2 times. But that's an unrunnable for Cleric. Oh, jeez. And we're back. In 80%, you do not skip anything. No, you can't. Well, so you have to fight the 4 fiends and then their rematches. There's no way to skip any of the like major story fights. The only real glitch is the equipment glitch that they will be using to get really overpowered items a lot earlier than they should have them. Also, yeah, forgetting to pick up items is like a genuine concern here. I know the first ever real run I did of this game, I forgot to pick up the Star Ruby after Vampire, and that is a really, really upsetting way to a thing to have happen in this game, because you get all the way out of Earth Cave, which takes probably about a minute to a minute and a half, and you go up to the golem, and he's just like, "No, I won't move." Oh, I didn't open that chest. You have to trek all the way back through Earth Cave to open that one tiny little chest at the back of the room. Oh wow, Sonny taking an extra safety save here. Just play it safe. You've got that lead. Just hold on to it. Mind Flayers. That was. I knew I'd forgotten a terrifying encounter in this run. Mind Flayers. That was it. Ice Cavern Mind Flayers. They will use Mind Blast, which can just paralyze the party, and pretty high rate of paralysis. And then I'm not 100% on how it works. I think it can only do damage if you're already paralyzed, but it does a ton of damage if you're paralyzed. And they continue to be terrifying even into the late game, where the ribbon doesn't block paralysis from Mind Flayers for some reason. Toku, by now you should know, like everything ever terrifies me. Like every time I talk about anything, I'm like, wow, this is really scary. Wow, I'm really nervous about this. This is terrifying. This is horrifying. Everything, absolutely everything. Evil Eye, scary. They can also insta-kill, yes. Mind Flayers will insta-kill, but that weirdly doesn't tend to be as threatening. It is on the way in towards the level grind. If you're there with just the 2 mages, then it can be quite bad, but once you've got the thief up, you usually, even if a character dies, you're usually then able to run away from them or something. So obviously, if you get something like a Mind Blast and then instant death on the other character, then that's pretty awful, but well, Stoney's encounter luck on the way out of here has not been great, and Cleric also had a much shorter level grind, just by merit of so many Pisca Demons on the way through. Oh, and that's an 8 enemy ambush for Sony as well. That is a time gain back for Cleric here, although Cleric not having much more luck with slow fights and paralysis. This is paralysis. Oh no. Oh no, yeah, there we go. Oh, Cleric off to Judgment Staff. I think that's the first unrunnable in Ice Cavern though, which is... Oh no, they got the Ice Gigas earlier. Never mind. Second unrunnable in Ice Cavern. One more for the road. So just to provide some context here, Sawneyrath skipped half a trip through Earth Cave but is currently sat at 3 unrunnable encounters this entire run to GreenCleric's 8. Which, to be fair, unrunnables don't say everything about RNG. That doesn't account for, you know, ambushes, preemptives, number of encounters in general, that kind of thing. But it's definitely not where you want to be. There's still a time loss. Also, one thing I've not had any reason to mention so far are rare encounters. There's a handful of encounters in a handful of places in this game that are a 1 in 64 chance of appearing. So we didn't see any ochre jellies in Earth Cave, and we didn't see any white dragons, thankfully, in Ice Cave. Citadel of Trials does have one, so we might see one coming up. But maybe we can just hold them for the Flying Fortress, hopefully. Because that's where we want to see them, really. You know what? I've not actually seen a war mech yet in any of the races that I've been watching live or commentating or running or anything. I've not seen a war mech, so what better time to break it than now, right? Still way away from that, but you know, this is definitely how RNG works and how odds work. Hopefully Sawneyrath doesn't get a dragon zombie here, so that we can keep that 1 in 64 for later on. Because that is 100% how statistics work. I was really expecting that to be a dragon zombie after I'd said that. Oh well, Cleric's taking the save before heading towards Citadel Trials. It's very unlikely, but there is a chance that a sandworm will appear in and around this desert. And just earthquake, you die. There are Minotaur zombies. Those are unrunnable. I have seen 4 Iron Golems over the course of this tournament, yeah. 2 versus Soma, 1 versus Tenshi, 1 versus Cruel. I say 2 versus Soma, that sounds like I got 2 in the same run. I didn't, they were different runs. Right, yeah, there is a spike tile coming up. There is also this spike tile, which is really good for experience. So nightmares are runnable. That's not worth it. Not when we still need characters to get to level 19. So just kill them. They're an enemy from a much later dungeon. We won't be going to Waterfall Cavern for quite a while still. So getting that experience here is just that, and a nice extra boost. Getting ambushed is not. So this gap is definitely closing, by the way. They're in the same room right now. Sony's on the way out of that spike tile, and Cleric is heading towards it. And a lot of that will be the encounters that Sony's had and the encounters that Cleric's had, but a lot of that is also Cleric's early time losses outside of the puzzle were unrunnable encounters, which on the one hand are slow, but on the other hand give you experience that then shortens your level grind. So early unrunnables aren't quite as bad as unrunnables later on. Yeah, GBA goes to 31 for, I think it's extra spells. I might be wrong on that. I don't run GBA. Toku is the person to ask about that. But yeah, Cleric picks up the gauntlets here. I forget this every time. So gauntlets, I know. For the record, I don't know the white mage route. I don't know the route that Cleric is doing in detail. They're fairly similar routes, but basically Cleric will use a bunch of items to use the spells that Sawney just has as spells. Gauntlets use Thundara from the menu. I know that one. So if you item gauntlets in the menu, you cast Thundara. The wrong dinosaur for the... Oh. Still the wrong dinosaur for the 1 in 64. Good old Tyrannosaur. Normally doesn't appear there, but can. It's always interesting to see the routes that people take on the airships as well. Like, as long as you get to your destination without too much wasted movement, airship routes are pretty interchangeable, but it's interesting to know what people use as their visual cues and things like that. The warrior just sits here, like, the warrior's here, like, change. The thing I want to know, right, is that you get your class change here, and Bahamut's like, yeah, I need to strengthen these 4 warriors of light by giving them some prettier clothes. Do they just, like, stand over their collapsed, like, unconscious warrior and just put, like, a pretty tiara on him? Like, he's just unconscious on the ground, and they're like, you know what you need? Tiara. Done. It's like a bad, like, prank to play on a friend, you know? You're staying over someone's house and they fall asleep early, and you just, like, start putting things, like, play human buckaroo. So, a bit more fetch quest stuff. I mentioned earlier that FF1 is basically two stories. One is massive fetch quest into Oblivion, and the other one is go fight the 4 fiends. Gonna buy a fairy in a bottle here from a desert in the middle of nowhere. How anyone is meant to find this without help, I don't know, but there you have it. So you buy a fairy in a bottle, and we're immediately going to go to Gaia and release it. The other thing that gets picked up here that Cleric's about to get are Giant's Tonics, which in-battle item, you use them and it increases the character's max HP by 200. The character that you use it on. By 200. Only their max HP, not their current. So you kind of need it's for the Chaos fight later on. The Chaos fight's still pretty scary with this route. But once you get past the first turn, you're usually fine because of those Giant's Tonics. If you can survive the first turn, you'll survive pretty much not quite everything he has to throw at you, but most. So this fairy's going to get us Oxyale, which lets us breathe underwater. Apparently that's like an actual factual thing, Oxyale, that divers use. But I'm pretty sure it doesn't let you just like walk underwater forever like you can in this. Cleric having to run around the NPC there. That NPC is not normally much of a problem, but today she decided to be. And off into Mount Galorg. So, we all know the whole the floor is lava kind of game. And now the lava is the floor. You want to spend as much time walking in lava as possible. So for anyone who's not seen this before, the lava deals damage every time you walk on it. It's like the spikes earlier, and ambushes are really bad, but at least this is early. But yeah, so the lava deals damage to you as you walk in it, and that sounds like a bad thing. But you also don't get encounters as long as you're walking in the lava. So you just take a bit of a hit. Party can go to 1 HP, and we don't really care too much. Wow, Cleric getting what would be a really bad ambush any later into the dungeon. But right now, that's fine. And so he's actually going to heal up. Fair enough, fair enough. Be interesting to see if Cleric heals here or just runs through, no save, no heal, take the risk. The floor is made of enemies and the lava is made of floor. That's how FF1 deals with this, apparently. Oh, that was a different route from Cleric that I've not seen, and I think that might be better than what I've been doing. Oh, I have to look at that one. Go back and watch that one. This is really why I'm on commentary. It's to pick up new strats and figure out details. All 4 attacks from Sawney, and of course the 2 mages go first, just to be really slow. But it does make the difference between, I think, a 2-round and a 1-round. That was a low damage roll with that warrior, so That was probably the deciding factor in terms of, oh, that's a 1 in 64 unrunnable. That is an unrunnable for GreenCleric there, and a 1 in 64 encounter. Nope, wait, never mind. We're on the wrong floor for it to be a 1 in 64. Ignore me. That is not a rare encounter at all. Is it? The notes I have say floors 4 and 5 are red dragons as rare, and fire alleys are only... Okay. Okay. I don't know the 1 in 64s myself, so I was like relying on the notes. So either way, it is an unrunnable encounter in Mount Gold, which is quite rare actually. Like I say, I've been taking notes on that, and between the end of Citadel of Trials and the end of Mount Gold, which includes the world map area, which does have a few unrunnables, the most anyone has got in that section so far of all the races I've gone through is 2. So getting unrunnables there is pretty unlikely. Also, the routes have kind of stabilized a bit now. They're very similar to each other. It's just a question of how you use the spells. So you buy Haste and Blizzara here. I think just Haste on the White Mage route. I might be wrong. Probably wrong, but we'll see. And then you buy Hilara and Teleport in Melmond. And probably unsurprisingly, so Blizzara is just for a few unrunnable encounters. There's a handful of enemies that are weak to ice coming up, like water elementals that are weak to ice for some reason. I still don't get that. Haste is for some faster boss strats later on. Teleport is for dungeon movement more than anything. It teleports you to the last floor that you were on. Not the last floor you were on, sorry. The last floor of the dungeon, which is an important distinction to make because it does some weird things for some routes through Sunken Shrine. I don't actually know if either of these will do it. Neither of them got haste on the ninja. That is pretty unfortunate. I guess most of Cleric's leveling came while the ninja was dead. And... oh, that is an unrunnable for Sawneyrath. And a really annoying one as well. The Ice Gigas have a lot of HP. Yeah, so haste speeds up your boss strats. NPCs being a pain. Oh, I didn't know that landing location. That's different to the one that Sawneyrath used, and that's different to the one that I'm familiar with from GreenCleric there. It's just a little bit further out the way. But I think it also means more going through rivers as opposed to forests. So it means you're likely to get more encounters, but the encounters that you'll get are more likely to be runnable, because there are a couple of unrunnables in that grass. Talking of unrunnables, Sunken Shrine is packed full of them. There are 3 unrunnable encounters in Sunken Shrine. Each one requires a different menu. So in terms of the spells and in terms of the menu routing, this is one of the dungeons that the Black Mage route, I think, has the biggest edge over the White Mage route, because you get to just move the cursor a couple of spaces between those encounters, as opposed to, like here, where Sonny's going to have to switch over to Fire now. Whereas with the White Mage route, you have to kind of dig around for items a little bit more. That is, of course, if you get an unrunnable, which Cleric has not yet. Really expect it. Every time I say something like that, I expect the fight that is starting to be unrunnable, and then it's just not, and I'm really disappointed because my commentator's curse is not happening. Apparently I don't have that power. Wow, I really hope we don't see a war mech today. Think. So we pick up a Rosetta Stone, the slab. I love that it's called the slab in the original. Rosetta Stone lets us learn a new language later in all of about 3 seconds. It's great. Just nod and wave your hands a bit, dance about, do the hokey cokey, and then you know Lufenian. I mentioned Hilara being important for boss strats. That's really vital for Chaos later on, but it's also just a really good way to heal up normally. So we just use that and it's fine. Don't need to buy extra potions. Also, just worth noting here that Cleric has had like a handful of ambushes, but still no unrunnables. Sawney, meanwhile, on their third of Sunken Shrine. +1 on the way in. Like I say, it's one of the reasons that looking at things like how many unrunnables did you get, how many encounters did you get, doesn't tell the full story with this game. There we go, Gauntlet use from the menu, cast Thundara. So you get that fast spell animation, but... we'll make it my next run. Don't say that. My next run is going to be the first match in the finals against the winner of this best of 5 series. So I'm not hoping to see that. It's fine, I'll just do what it did happen earlier in the bracket where somebody ambushed or got the preemptive on Warmech and just killed it. Just took down Warmech in the middle of a win. I think that was poor Scythe, our good old tournament organizer, who slayed an innocent, defenseless Warmech. So also I didn't touch on this menu. They're both taking the light axe on the second floor. Sunken Shrine is weird in the way it does floors. At least in the PSP version. The floor with the Rosetta Stone is the 5th, and the floor with Kraken is the 1st, and you start on the 3rd, so you go up and then down. This is just more agility gear, more than anything. You also give, in the Black Mage route, some more Lordly Robes over to your Mage here, so that you have that higher intelligence that lets you kill a few extra things moving forwards. But yeah, there are light axes on both the 2nd and 4th floors. They're both taking the 2nd floor one. I think the difference between them is minimal. It's like a handful of steps, like maybe 2 steps or something. Doesn't come up very often, but it's just like one of those slight differences between the runners that you'll see every now and then. So only going with the extra stabs there. Gets the 1 round anyway. Those were good damage rolls. Did not need that Black Mage to poke at Kraken. There's a little toothpick. It's actually quite funny, like the 4 Fiends, when you fight them in like the base game, some of them are really scary fights. Some of them can be really, really like... You know, they can kill you quite a lot. Marilith in particular, I think, in the vanilla game was always quite difficult. And then in this, you're just like, 1 round gone. Kraken, 1 round gone. And it works out that the 3 hardest boss fights in the game are Chaos, your final boss, and both times that you fight Lich, because of course Lich is causing all of the problems still. Oh, Cleric does not get the 1 round on Kraken. Did need the poke from the Black Mage there. Alrighty, so Sawney is the first one to escape the Sunken Shrine. Still not quite heading back yet. We're not heading to Tiamat just yet. There's a few more fetch quest steps along the way. I'm going to get on a boat. I'm going to go upriver. And I'm going to talk to a robot. And there are 2 very important things here. Firstly, a warp cube, which, like, you know, gets us to Tiamat. And that's a minor thing. That's not necessary. But a ribbon on the other hand is the no. One of these is necessary, and the other one is just really useful. And the ribbon, I think someone said there are 3 ribbons in the entire game. And so the idea is that you can't equip them to your entire party. But we don't abide by those rules here. We just cheat a few more into existence. So it's worth noting the equipment glitch, the way it works, you glitch from one item into another one on a different slot, and when you equip it, it creates that item. Then when you unequip it, it puts it in your inventory. So what we're going to do here is take the ribbon that gets picked up from this treasure chest, use the equipment glitch onto the warrior to create a Gigantax, which will then unequip to put in our inventory and use that to then create more ribbons around the rest of the party, and also to put the ribbons into really weird slots. That is a terrifyingly bad ambush. Oh, jeez. So this is the last fight that can cause problems, like before you get the ribbon in terms of status. This is the last fight that can do any... No, they're all missing, it's fine. Sonny's 100% fine. Never mind. I'm just over here getting worried for nothing. There's also a single unrunnable encounter in Waterfall Cavern, but it's also a 1 in 64, so it's not very likely to show up. Also, we can put the ribbons on shields. You'll notice we've kept shields generally quite clear. This equipment glitch is great when it's working, but whenever you block an attack with a shield, the game tries to play a little blocking animation, and for some reason, certain items have or don't have animations attached to them. And so if you block with a ribbon, it'll do a little animation of it like deflecting with a sword, almost like a sword swing. If you try to equip something in a shield slot that doesn't have a blocking animation and the game tries to block, the whole thing just locks up. So survival vests, they are not shields. Which... Wait, Cleric has a survival vest there, is that... Is survival vest okay? Okay, well, Thieves' Armlets. Thieves' Armlets are definitely not shields, I can tell you that much. Survival vest is safe. Okay, my bad. I thought the 3 agility boosts were not. But yeah, the Thieves' Armlets 100% are not. And we have actually had a run in the group stage where somebody had to forfeit because they had Thieves' Armlets unlocked. Also, yeah, interpretive dance going on over there. We'll have our little merry jig so that you can learn an entire new language in the space of a few seconds. And now the run to Lefenia. Which, if you like RNG, have I got a section for you? This whole section is packed with Minotaur zombies, firstly, which are unrunnable. You then have to get to the person who gives you the chime in Lefenia, who will 100%, there will be Lefenians in the way. They will block your path 100% of the time. Not actually 100%, but it feels like it. And then you have to do this whole trek all the way back up to your airship, so yeah, you will just get a lot of unrunnables and NPCs and just obnoxious RNG. And yeah, there we go, Sonny getting the worst Lefenian. Thanks, buddy. At least you moved pretty quickly. Picks up a chime. So there is still everything to play for, I will say that. Like, Sonny obviously has the edge right now, and I want to say by a decent chunk, depending on the RNG, like, to and from Lefenia here. But, there have been time losses of, like, 2 minutes in this tournament that have been made back in Chaos Shrine. There have been people who were, like, 1 minute behind going into Chaos Shrine and ended 5 or 6 minutes behind. There is the room to make this back. Like, this is not over. Mostly because Chaos Shrine encounters are terrible. All of them are just gonna, like, there are so many unrunnables, there are fights that can just murder you if they ambush you. Lich is there, so you can get held up with flares for, like, 10 minutes. Not actually 10 minutes, normally that Lich is generally kind of forgiving, but... Alright, Sony getting through without too many unrunnables there. You can get anywhere from like 0 to 8 on that journey, and it's just... I hope that if they show up, they're fast to kill, pretty much. Notice a moment of hesitation there from Cleric in running from the wolves. I always do the same thing, because the majority of the time you see winter wolves, they're with Ice Gigas, and they are not runnable. But when they're on their own, yeah, you can run away from them just fine. It's the Ice Gigas that you can't run from here. Alrighty, so Sonny picking up a fair few encounters going through, so Cleric, with some decent luck, might make up some time here. I say as they get into a fight almost immediately. It's also worth noting Hellhounds earlier. We didn't actually see Hellhounds and Ogre Mages. They're awful. You can get, in certain areas, you can get encounters of, I think it's 0 to 1, or 0 to 2 Ogre Mages and like 0 to 2 Hellhounds or something. And those are unrunnable encounters, but you can get 0 and not know it's unrunnable. And if you just get 2 Hellhounds on their own, you can run away. Here, there are only Hellhounds. There are no Ogre Mages, so you can always run from Hellhounds here. The only unrunnable in Mirage Tower is the Blue Dragon, which is a 1 in 64 that Cleric just got. That is actually our first 1 in 64 encounter of this entire run so far. Like, in this whole race, that is the first 1 in 64. Yeah, that is the only unrunnable encounter in Mirage Tower. The only one in Flying Fortress is Evil Eye. But, again, there are some fights that can kind of cause some problems. Oh, the Kib Dragons! Yeah, I didn't actually know about this one until I watched back on commentary and stuff for my race, but Kib got like 8 of them in a row once or something. Like a stupid number in a row. So it just became the Kib Dragons. I'm happy to make that a thing. Or help try and push that as a thing. Air Elemental's one of the, I think, the only elemental that you can run from. Normally, they're quite difficult to run from because they're fast, but no trouble there for Sony. No save. He's not protecting that lead from the War Mech. Alright, well, Sony gets through to Tiamat with a couple of encounters, but no War Mech. Still time. You can still get a fight after Tiamat. It's just very unlikely. Oh, Sony is going for the haste on Tiamat. Okay. I'm not 100%, like, not everyone goes for haste here. So haste in this game, it's worth noting. Wow, that was close. Cleric nearly just teleported out of Flying Fortress. I just noticed that I'm super behind somehow. I don't know how that happened. Let's refresh that. So... no War Mechs for either of them, which is really unfortunate. War Mechs coming for me? No, it's fine. I've wished it on these two. So in the finals, one of them will get War Mech against me. It's fine. It's okay. That's how it will go. I promise. I hope. So this gap is close, by the way. This is actually a really tight race still now. The worst part is that, like, the only person I know who had a Warmech death in this tournament is Kibitha, who I knocked out of the tournament in top 16. And I know that she's been, like, very vocal about, you know, kind of wishing the worst on the people who've been beating her. So I feel like between my commentary today and Kib's wishes, like, I'm definitely getting Warmeched. 100%. Alrighty, Chaos Shrine start. So that's our first unrunnable. That's the one you want to see, generally. Purple worms are unrunnable, but they're not threatening. You just punch them in the face and keep going. Talking of which, if you're going to see unrunnables... Oh, one thing that's worth noting now, so Sawneyrath's HP totals on the Ninja and the Black Mage are miserable. They are really bad. You want about roughly 300 HP on the Ninja by the time you get to the end of Chaos Shrine. You can get away with low rolling that one a little bit. Black Mage you want about 250, and that one you kind of you cannot get away with low rolling. It has to be pretty much above 250. And yeah, those are garbage. Those are actually awful. Jeez, 3 unrunnables on the way to Death Eye is... pretty low odds. Oh, there's Clerics first. Yeah, Cleric, meanwhile, is like Black Mage with more HP than the Ninja, and nearly as much HP as the White Mage. Like, the Black Mage is fine, the White Mage might not be, which is... crazy. Oh no, that ambush. Oh, how much damage does this do? It's fine with ribbons now, I think, so it should be fine, but yeah, it's just a time-consuming one. That's an unrunnable for Sawney. So it is worth noting, you will pick up some levels as you go through Chaos Shrine, in part because of all the unrunnable encounters, and in part because you're going to have to fight a handful of bosses that don't really reward you with much. In fact, they might just be 1 experience, but we'll ignore that. Has Sawney had a runnable encounter in this Chaos Shrine? I think there's been 1. Like, Cleric is getting every chance to catch up right now. If you're a Cleric supporter here, this is what you want to see. Except maybe for White Dragons in the next room. On that note, we mentioned earlier, there are awful encounters in Chaos Shrine and Ice Cavern. The White Dragons that can kill you in Ice Cave, they can kill you just as easily here. Okay, Sawney gets away. And immediately saves. That's one of those panic reaction saves. You know that for a fact. Like, I just nearly lost this entire thing. I'm gonna just play it safe. Oh, wow. Oh, that's another Ice Storm. And didn't get away, and the Black Mage is... You gotta judge it. No, this... Oh, wow. Cleric has just caught up. Just like that, Cleric is in the same room. So for the record here, White Dragons you can run away from, but they're just really fast, so they're difficult to run away from. Oh no! Oh, Cleric's getting the ambush. It's fine, it's only 3, not 4. One of them attacked physically. Oh, that's... Just goes straight for the runaway and gets it. Okay. Earth Elementals, those are unrunnable. Now that we're at, like, normal, safe moments again. So this race is now neck and neck. This is, like, right down to the... Oh, that is a slow fight for Cleric. It's not a hazardous fight, it's not going to kill you. It's just going to waste a lot of time. Back and forth. It's just all over the place. That's absolutely what this run will do. And there's... Oh, wow. Just left, right, and center. Cleric getting hit by some pretty clunky fights here. Then again, Sawney has had a much worse Chaos Shrine to this point, so... Some pretty clunky fights just mean that catch-up isn't quite as good as Cleric might have hoped. More Earth Elementals, but on the other hand, a Flare from Lich and... Oh! Wow, Sawney went for the Judgment Staff for the White Mage? Did I... No, that... Wow, that is... impressive. Okay. So you won't always one-round Lich. It's likely, but not guaranteed. And, yeah, Sawney actually used the Judgment Staff with the White Mage there, because the White Mage will almost always survive Flare, but the rest of the party won't necessarily. So that Judgment Staff was actually really good. Cleric, on the other hand, got the haste on round 1 before the Ninja moved, and then the Ninja... I think I briefly touched on it earlier, but haste doesn't increase your speed in terms of turn order. It increases your speed in terms of you attack twice as many times. And that's really, really goddamn powerful. And that is one of the reasons that the Ninja is like the main physical damage dealer in this run. You know, they're your boss slayer. Is because they attack a lot of times, and when you give them the most powerful equipment in the game, turns out just hitting things lots is better than hitting things harder. Not a great Marilith there for Sawney. This is definitely coming down to the wire. Gonna have to go into that menu and heal. We'll see who goes into that. Oh, okay, so no. 2-round Marilith for Cleric, so... Kraken Floor has a lot of unrunnables. You get a lot of water elementals here, so still a lot of swing that can happen here. There's a lot of swing that can happen in a Chaos fight, just in terms of animation speeds. First unrunnable each. Okay. Jeez, they are both on a solid pace as well. This is a second unrunnable each, sure. Sawney did a puzzle, yeah. Yeah, Sawney did the puzzle and got the emergency exit from it. So the fact that this race is coming down to the wire just firstly goes to show that the puzzle doesn't actually do that much. Just like that, Cleric's marginally ahead, but ahead. But yeah, more importantly, it also goes to show that anything can happen. Sawney gained like a good 1.5 to 2 minutes over Cleric earlier, probably closer to 2 minutes given how Cleric's Earth Cave went, and has now just barely slipped behind in the Chaos Shrine. Oh, wow. Okay, so they are both healing. Sawney's doing this equip now. Okay, so this equip normally doesn't come until just before the Chaos fight, but it can mean that the difference between the Black Mage surviving the Tiamat fight or not. Which, right now, the extra time taken to revive might actually matter. So both getting Scourges, not much of a threat with a lot of ribbons. Tiamat down on Cleric's side, that is a bit more time gained. Oh, 3 round for Sawney, and it's 2 spells from Tiamat, that is really slow. Cleric onto the Chaos floor, no encounters here, so... Cleric has I want to say a notable lead, but it's maybe like 1 or 2 spells from Chaos. Plus, Cleric still needs to do some equipment here. Right, I forget this. The White Mage route equips clothes to the Mage because it lowers your... it means that you don't get the agility boosts. So it's really important to know that to have your White Mage go last. You want your White Mage... Was there a safety from Sawney? I don't know if I saw a safety save from Sawney here, and this is... Look at this! This is unbelievable. This is right down to the wire. They're like neck and neck going into all of this. So one of the big differences here is Cleric's HP total. Cleric does not need to tonic the Black Mage. Sawney does. So firstly, Sawney is relying a bit more on RNG in this fight, and secondly, is going to have to take an extra action here. Oh, Cleric gets an instant blaze. Is the ninja okay? That is a really low HP total. Oh, Black Mage down! Got the tonic on Sawney's side, but the Black Mage has fallen without a haste. This is going to be a really slow Chaos fight. Did Sawney safety save before Chaos? Nothing, no. Okay, this is... See, at that point, I was like, if you safety save, you reset. I think you just take the reset and you're like, whatever, I'll go for it and hope for the best. Cleric is going to be dishing out so much more damage right now. Sawney's really hoping that, like, Cleric's Chaos goes for the full Curager or... Something big has to happen for Sawney here now, and Sawney is getting all of the spells. Is it really going to come to this? The HP totals are what are going to decide the first race? That's... Yeah, reviving the Black Mage is not worth it. If you do it with a melee character, then Chaos will hit before the White Mage heals, and the Black Mage is probably going to die anyway. And if you do it with the White Mage, then you miss your healing for a turn and potentially die to 2 big spells, so... And there is Cleric's finish. Jeez, that was pretty ridiculous. Alrighty. Let's see if Cleric's gonna step in and join us. I'll ask them about interviews once they're both finished. Once they're through this. Jeez, Chaos is... This is rough for Sawney right now. Oh, wow. Has this fight really gone on that long? So Sawney is going to miss a Healara here. Alright, punch on the ninja. That's not too bad. Oh, that can be bad. Crazy. What a... Like, the times are not going to do this justice. The times are not going to show just how close this race was. You just Judgment Staff here. Yeah, I was going to say, do you just go for the kill and hope here? There we go. A punch for 200 to finish off. To finish off the fight. That was really rough. Hello, hello.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say one thing. I glanced right when the chaos fight started. Did we start at like exactly the same time?
Yes, and Blaze killed my Black Mage because I had absolute garbage HP growth throughout the entire run.
That HP was something. You were like at 150 going into like Mirage Tower.
Yeah. And I'm surprised I didn't get freaking thunderbolted by Tiamat, and considering how this run went, I'm even surprised I finished with a 130. I almost forfeit as soon as Blaze went out and killed my friggin' Black Mage.
So you hadn't safety saved, had you? For
Nope.
Chaos. Right.
Oh.
Yeah. Like it was crazy. It was a really interesting race there, because for a while Cleric, you had the early lead, you had the early lead and it was looking quite good. Little bits of encounter luck, little bits of just, standard FF1 fare, I think. And then Sawney just took a puzzle and got it. And all of a sudden, that 1 minute lead on Cleric turned into a 1 minute lead on Sawney's side, and yeah.
Wow.
Basically stuck up until Chaos Shrine.
Yeah, I mean, when I was looking, I was just glancing, I knew early game was good. I mean, I knew early game was pretty solid, and then it was like, okay, let's bleed some time. Earth Cave was garbage. Ice Cave was great. Citadel was great. Then just started bleeding time, but I was looking going, okay, I'm on PB pace. I'm not having the worst luck in the world. I'm just going to plug through at it. I'm just going to try stay consistent. And I'm glancing, I'm going, okay, he still has a lead. Then, okay, so first round of Chaos, let me glance, and oh, that's the same screen on both sides of the layout.
Yeah, it almost entirely came down to just that first turn and those HP growths. Your Black Mage had your Black Mage nearly had as much HP as your White Mage at one point.
Yeah, I was actually worried about the Thief. I was worried that if I had better luck at the end, if I didn't have as many encounters at the end, I was really worried about the Ninja's HP. But that kind of balanced out.
Yeah. But so the other thing is I've been keeping some stats on races, and I figured I'd do that while I was watching this one. I was tracking the number of unrunnables and 1 in 64s. We only got 1 in 64 this entire race. What were you doing? Where were they?
We're not you. We don't get 1 in 64s fairly often.
The thing I was actually going to say was, in terms of unrunnables, barring Earth Cavern, you actually got about the same number. But then obviously the puzzle and the emergency exit there plays a big part in the number of unrunnables there, so it ended up being about 3 difference. Ended up with, Clary, you got 5 in Earth Cave between the 2 visits, where Sony, you only got 2.
Yeah, a lot of times too, it's where you get those unrunnables, because let's be honest, there's some where it's like, okay, no big deal, and there are ambushes or anything like that. It depends where you get them. I mean, again, you get a couple, you get none in Earth. Okay, great. You're not going through Judgment Staff or anything like that. You get a couple in Water. Okay, I mean, you have ways of getting around that. You have ways of beating that. But a lot of times with this game, it's just about, where you're getting that bad luck. Because sometimes it's easy to get through, and other times it's going to be a complete time sink.
Mm-hmm. Jeez.
That is very true. And the number of unrunnables I got in Chaos Shrine was just atrocious anyway. And I know that allowed you to rebound a lot of time. And then just my Black Mage HP growth. If I had gotten maybe 10 more HP, I would have been fine. I just needed 10 more.
The other thing with Chaos Shrine for both of you, but more so for you, Sonny, was White Dragons.
Yeah, that pack I had to J-Staff. I tried to run and I couldn't run, and I was like, excuse me, game? You want to try that again?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I had one ambush, but the good thing is when it's ambush, first attack's a physical. You're like, okay, no big.
By the way, it's just been pointed out in chat. Cleric, was that a PB for you?
Yeah. Here's the funny story. So, last round, because of time differences and everything, Soma and I had to do our runs offline. So, first run I did offline, I PB'd. So, that was a PB. And second run, well, I just had to finish it because he had forfeited, unfortunately. But then this run, like, at one point when I picked up Rosetta Stone, I was 3 minutes ahead, which I'm looking at that going, no, that's going to adjust itself pretty quickly. I'm like, no. I'm like, you don't want to pay attention to the splits, but you're looking going 3 minutes ahead. No. That's not going to happen. But yeah, PB.
Nice, congrats.
Yeah, congrats on the 128, especially with White Mage route.
Yeah, one of the things I'm finding with the White Mage route, I find it more consistent. I mean, as far as times and that, I just find it more consistent, and especially when I'm looking through my race times so far, like, everything's really consistent and competitive. So, obviously as consistent as you can get with this game, but, I'm used to it. I'm just keep trying to work on the execution, just try to make sure everything's perfect, and, do whatever you can to speed up the time.
Fair, yeah. I know I was saying with the Black Mage route, I was like, I'm not 100% on how consistent this is because of the experience early on. If you take, like, the death at Astos or something like that, it can really just jeopardize everything. But it's interesting to see kind of like the consistency versus speed between the different routes, and it might actually be at the point where it's worth running different routes against different people to play to their habits, and like that to me creates a really interesting metagame.
I agreed 100%, because especially because we used to have, okay, we have this route, okay, now we have the White Mage route, now we have the Black Mage. So there's actually, I like the fact that there's strategy there, because we might get to the point, especially if someone gets in there around, it might get to the point where it's like, okay, this person usually plays this, what should I do? Yeah, that's actually really interesting as far as race purposes goes, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Second race tomorrow, same time?
Same time.
Yeah, and this was fun. This was a little stressful, but fun. This is going to be a good series.
This is going to be an extremely good series, and yeah, I'm not giving up my puzzle unless I am really far ahead by the time I actually hit Melmond. So you have that to look forward to, Cleric.
Well, yeah. Well, I don't like puzzles, so not that I don't like puzzle, I'm just never bothered to learn puzzle. That's not going to be something that I learn between today and tomorrow. But no, I mean, GG. I mean, it was really, really good, and I don't know. I think it might even be closer tomorrow. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, absolutely. GG's to you, and congrats on the PB, man.
Thanks a lot.
Alrighty, anything else, Rad?
Screw you, Black Mage HP growth. That's about it.
Yeah, I'll add one thing. I don't think I'm gonna try this, but I think maybe I might have some sort of superstition now. Maybe it's gonna be okay. If I want to win, I have to have Sarah yell at me at the start of the game to go pick. I noticed that, like, okay, everything's done, and I'm going out. I'm like, oh yeah, the cutscene.
See, what I thought you were going to say, given the Black Mage HP comment, which is you had R3 names in your party. Like, I'm just saying, I was your Black Mage in there, and
Well, I mean, no bias. I mean, like, thanks for the help today, and just, if you want to keep it consistent over the next couple of races, I'm good with that. But
Which races,
I mean, if I do the same tomorrow night and you go into chaos with 160,
right? Like, I will say from my end, like, I'm here rooting for this to go to game 5. We get more games, I'm happy. So,
but you also have to think of our stress levels as well.
Yeah, well, I'm against the winner of your match, so that works in my
favor. Yeah, that's the other thing. It's the whole, I just want these guys to beat each other half to death, and then I'll just come pick up the people.
Alrighty. So congrats again. Thanks to Speed Gaming for hosting. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. Again, same time tomorrow for the run back. See if Cleric can get to match point, or if Sawney can bring it even. Any final thoughts? Any last words on this run?
None. Just looking forward to tomorrow.
I'm definitely looking forward to tomorrow. This series is going to be incredible, and none of you want to miss it.
Agreed.
Awesome. On that note, thanks very much everyone for watching, and we'll hopefully see you around tomorrow.